What's up, home team? Episode 4, Jamie's Day Off podcast, coming to you live from Lubbock, Texas. Let's get right into it. Alright, so today is Labor Day. Today's Monday, September 2nd, 2024. I'm not really sure if you know a whole lot about Labor Day, other than it's a day that, not even most, but, people do get off. They don't have to go to work today. A lot of stuff is, not even a lot. Why do I keep saying that? But some stuff is closed, like the banks are closed, the post office is closed. Anything in a government capacity is pretty much closed today. My brother, he works at a bank. I know that bitch is closed because he's off today. He's normally at work, but he's off. So it's a federal holiday, which we're going to get into real quick here in a second. I'm going to give you a brief history of Labor Day, just in case you don't know. What you know can help. With it being Labor Day, it's quoted as being the unofficial end of summer, and it's pretty clear that it is the end of summer because this past week, the weather has definitely changed. It's been cooler this past week into this week, starting off cooler. Today, my computer right now, I think it says it's 72 degrees, and it's pretty cloudy. It's been a rainy day all day. It started this morning. I woke up. I fell asleep on the couch last night. All the kids fell asleep in the bed with their mom, so I didn't have room to sleep on the bed last night. So I fell asleep on the couch, and I was awakened around 4:30 this morning to the sound of a thunderstorm, and it's peaceful as fuck to hear, but it was nonetheless awakening because, the house is in dead silence because what else is there to make noise at 4:30 in the morning? Nobody's awake. There's nothing really going on in the house. There's nothing going on in the house. I woke up and I heard, the rain falling on the back porch and on the house, and then, just in the backyard in general because my living room is towards the back of my house. And I got these the whole back side of the house is like a bunch of windows, like from floor to ceiling, literally, nothing but windows. So you can hear it coming in beyond the windows and the back door. There's rain falling down all morning. So, it was raining all last night into today. I was getting some errands and some chores done, and it's been a rainy sumbitch all day. And, it's evident that the season has changed, where I guess we're entering the fall season, and which also brings that, I'll get into the fall season, the changing of seasons here in a second, but again, just going to give you a brief fucking history lesson about Labor Day. It started in the 1880s to honor and recognize the American labor movement and the contributions of the laborers to the development and achievements in the U.S. So, it was to celebrate the labor class, and originally how they did that was, they had parades and public gatherings and fucking picnics on Labor Day, to celebrate the labor class. And, from the early 1880s through to the 1930s, the president signed it to become a fucking federal holiday. So what kind of a bitch-ass slap in the face is it to originally celebrate the labor class, the working folks, the everyday people, the working men and women, celebrate those type of folks, to just, giving federal workers, government employees, the day off nationwide? These cocksuckers, like that's some bitch ass bullshit. To do that type of stuff, to go from that complete of a switch from celebrating the everyday person, everyday worker, to just people in federal jobs. Like, it's literally just a federal holiday. It's just a complete switcheroo, and I think that sucks. Unless you're a federal employee or you work in the government, you get the day off. Not us, not the everyday folk, because anywhere that I've been today, everything is open pretty much. Maybe the hours have changed a little bit, slightly, but everything is open for the most part. My job, where I work, they were open today. I went in to get some money to collect some money from last week, and it was normal fucking it was just a normal business day. The bitch was full because the rain is because it was raining. What tends to happen where I work is that people who work in like construction and the road working crews, they can't work when it rains, so they get the day off, I guess, for the most part, and they end up coming into where I work, which is a bar/restaurant, and they're in there fucking cutting up a rug because they get the day off. But other than that, everybody else is working. Walmart was open. Walmart was fucking full. Everybody goes to Walmart. The grocery stores. I went to the grocery store. Went to United. That bitch was full, which I guess I guess that means that a lot of people that were at those two places, Walmart and United, were probably worked in some sort of office setting, government type job, because it was more full than it normally is, and it was at fucking, it was afternoon. It was early in the afternoon. It was around like, what the fucking time? It was, between the hours of 12 and 2 p.m. All these places were fucking full, so that must have been where they worked, some sort of government, federal capacity. So, I guess, Labor Day is not really, it's not really a big deal, I guess, because everybody's still at work. The original idea of why it was created, to celebrate people and give them the day off, the working class folk, is not even the case anymore. So I guess Labor Day is just another day. Like, oh, school people, the kids at school got a day off, because my kids had a 3-day weekend. So I guess that if you're, a student of some sort and you didn't have to go to school today, I guess that benefits you. Labor Day benefits you in that, regard. But other than that, it's just a normal day. It's just a 3-day weekend for other people in the government, federal capacity, or whatever. So that's your brief history on Labor Day. Also today, yesterday, Sunday, marked the end of the work week for me. Hours got sent in so I can get my paycheck next week. But I logged 40. What is that noise? Oh shit! Goddamn fire trucks. Also, I'm recording in the car today because, like I said, the kids are home from school and they're in the house running around, making all kinds of noise. My wife's in there yelling at the dog and the cats and and the kids, because they're home today, causing a ruckus. So I'm in the car recording. That's why you can hear the fire truck. And I live I live near University Avenue. So if you hear the home team, Lubbock, Texas, where University is a main road. So that's why you can hear that fire truck. It's close and it's going down University. So full disclosure. So like I said, I put in 46 hours last week, 6 hours of overtime, and it was a busy week because also Labor Day marks when sports come back, and the main sport being football. So we had the college football crowd come back last week, starting on I don't even remember what day it was. I think it was Thursday, and Colorado played. Where Deion Sanders coaches, so that was a pretty big game to kick off the season amongst the other games. I think the Longhorns played too. If you live in Texas, even being in Lubbock, Texas, we have a lot of Longhorn fans, which you can suck a dick if that's you. It's Texas Tech Red Raiders on this side all day, every day. So we didn't play until Saturday, which I'll get into that more here in a second. But we had the college football crowd come back, and sure enough, it was busy as fuck. Like we're living in a college town. We love our college sports, and people love college sports in general. So that crowd was back out, and it was a busy fucking week at work this week. So Saturday, when all the other games were played and they were on TV and stuff like that, we had a big ass crowd at work. And like I said, I work in a bar/restaurant, so we serve food and drinks all day, every day. And Saturday was, like I said, to kick off the college football season officially in a major way capacity. With the rest of all the rest of the games being played on Saturday. It was busy as fuck, like I said. And like I said, I work in a restaurant, bar/restaurant. I keep saying that, but just so you know, our fucking restaurant area is fucking big. Like, we have a lot of fucking big tables. We have small tables, we got booths, but we also got a lot of big tables. And along with college football season, we also had a bunch of NFL fantasy football draft parties held at my job. So there's a bunch of big tables because of that as well. So you got the fantasy football drafts, and then you got college football season, and then you got just the family, people bringing their families out to eat where I work. Also busy as fuck for the Saturday, man. And where I work, in the mornings there's only we have bussers and we have barbacks. Where in my side of the restaurant, what I tend to do, I work at the front of the house, so it's called. But it's the women, which is the servers and the bartenders, and then we have the males, which is the barbacks and the bussers, which is what I am. I'm a trainer. I train both barbacks and bussers, but they still use me in either of those two roles, barback or busser. And I was a busser Saturday, and boy, let me tell you, it was fucking, with it being busy, it was a pain in the ass because we only had one person working the bar, we only had one person working the tables, which was me. And it was a busy fucking Saturday, man. And when you're the only person bussing tables in the restaurant, with there being all the tables that there is, the whole place was fucking full. And when everybody is seated at the same time and it's full, because of that, whenever these people decide to get up to leave when they're done, with their meal or whatever the fuck, their meal and their drinks, and they leave, a lot of these motherfuckers tend to get up at the same time. Luck of the draw, or on my end it's bad luck, because I got to do all these fucking tables at once, and I got to fill up this little bus cart that I got with all the dirty dishes. I got to clean the motherfucker, and then I got to empty my cart and do all the stuff to get the tables ready. It's a pain in the fucking ass. It's a pain in the ass, let me tell you. And that was what it was all day Saturday. It was a pain in the ass. Now, it's a gift and a curse, because when it's busy, we have a tip sharing program, I guess you can call it. Bussers and barbacks and the bartenders and servers, we all share tips. And it's when it's busy, when it's full, and when it's busy, it's a good thing. But it's also a bad thing when we're short staffed and we only have one person bussing tables and one person managing the barback area, to keep the bars serving throughout the day. And it was, like I said, it was only one of each, one barback, one busser, and it's a pain in the dick and the balls when you're the only one to do either of those positions. I say that it's a gift and a curse, because there's less people to split money with, but there's less people to fucking manage cleaning and setting up tables and cleaning and managing the bar and keeping that area stocked. Now, I will say, because like I said, I do both, the bar is not really that big. It's not really that much of a big deal, especially when you stay on top of it. It's easier to manage the bar area. But when you're the only person bussing tables and doing this stuff behind the scenes as well, it's not just bussing tables. Like, of course, that's a big part of it. You want to keep people in, cycling through the tables, so you can keep making the money. But, there's also the stuff behind the scenes that you don't see. Like, we got to roll silverware. We got to run the cups for the soft drinks. We got to send them through the dish pit and then bring them back out. You got to fill up ice for the drink station. What else is there? Keeping your trashes thrown so they're not too full and they're not heavy for any one person like myself, a small cat, to throw on a regular basis, because you're cycling through these customers throwing away trash and shit from the tables to the trash cans and then to the dumpster. It's a pain in the fucking dick and balls, bro. And sure enough, that's what it was Saturday. And I think for Saturday, with the kickoff of the full season, I made a pretty good amount tip-wise. So, it's good in that regard. But, man, it's a lot of work, and it gets frustrating, too, because I work with a lot of youngsters. And I say that you got to take that with a grain of salt, because I'm in my early 30s, but I work with a lot of cats, a lot of women in A lot of servers and bartenders in their early 20s, and they don't have the work ethic. They don't necessarily have the work ethic that I do. Like I'm all about doing the work and doing it the way it needs to be done and when it needs to be done. And not everybody in that motherfucker has the same. They don't treat it the same way that I do. So it was a pain in the dick because of that as well. So, and I'll just leave it at that. You can do with that information what you will. You can draw your own conclusion, but it was a pain in the ass nonetheless. And like I said, with the return of college football, we also had Texas Tech who played. They played Saturday, and it was. I'll just go ahead and get into that as well. I didn't work that game because it was at night, and I worked the morning shift, and that game happened at night. And Texas Tech, we played Abilene Christian, which I think was our first time playing. Was our first year playing that team in our division, and we were favored by more than 30 points. And the game went to overtime, and we won by 1 fucking point. It was 52-51 here at home. In Lubbock, Texas, we played Abilene Christian. We won by 1 fucking point, even though we were supposed to beat them by more than 30 points. We only won by 1 in an overtime fucking game. A win is a win, yes, but when you think about the fact that we were favored to beat them by 30 points and we only won by 1, man, it was a tough fucking game. And the stats for that, Texas Tech had a total of 539 yards. We had no turnovers, and 378 passing yards, 161 rushing yards. Came out to five total passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown on the Tech side. Now, on the Abilene Christian side, man, and this is where it gets interesting. Abilene Christian had a total of 615 yards. They had 1 turnover, which was a fumble recovered by Tech, for a total of 506 passing yards, 109 rushing yards, comes out to 3 passing touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns. Now, the fucking rushing touchdowns, must have been in the red zone area and around the goal line, that they were short runs, because like I said, they only had 109 rushing yards. So when they got to the goal line, they ran it in and they got into the end zone. So that's bad for the defense in that regard, that we weren't good in the goal line area. And even worse than that is, like I said, this cat had, the quarterback for Abilene Christian had 506 total passing yards. That's a lot of fucking yards for him to throw for and to throw on our defense. So, that speaks to our secondary. Shit, I hit the mic. It speaks to our secondary defense and our goal line defense in terms of stopping the rush. Now, neither one of those was good in regards to Texas Tech's defense. And when you think about it, like I said, in totality, the passing yards, all the passing yards they were able to get on us, and the short runs for the fucking 4 rushing touchdowns, and the fact that we were supposed to beat them by 30 points, over 30 points, speaks to either how bad our defense was on Saturday, or it speaks to how good and underrated Abilene's offense was. So which is it? Bad defense or good offense on their part? Nonetheless, it was a close game. It was a tough game, and it looks like to me that with that type of defense on our end, and again, our offense put out too, man. Like they were able to overcome the shortcomings of our defense by putting up, over 500 yards and 6 total touchdowns. So, I guess you got to take the good with the bad, and we kind of balanced it out in that regard because we were able to get on the scoreboard, but we weren't able to keep the other team off of the scoreboard. So, when I look at that, when I see the stats and you watch the replay of the game, it just looks like we might be in for a long season, Tech fans. And again, if you heard my first episode, I'm a realist. And looking at the stats, looking at the highlights, it looks like we might be in for a long season, especially with some of the other high-powered teams that we will be, in fact, playing this year. I think we have Colorado later on. The Buffaloes, Deion Sanders and them, they come to Lubbock to play us, and they're a pretty high-powered offense. Among the other teams that we'll be playing, but them in general, they're a high-powered offense. So that might be a long game. And then looking into next week, next Saturday, we play Washington State. We play the Cougars in Washington. It's an away game. And I saw the stats on that motherfucker, and he put up, I think he was like 11 for 17 for this past game. I didn't see who they played, but I saw that it was like, I think that was the stat line, 11 for 17. He threw for over 350 yards, and they put up, and their rushing squad as well. They put up some good numbers all together, and they won their first game, both 1-0 this first weekend. 1-0 going into this next team versus each other, but them being a high-powered offense, for what it looks like, it would seem that they're a high-powered offense as well. So it might be another tough game. It might be another close game, but hopefully we can get the win on the road, come back undefeated, and continue building on a good offense and honing in on our defense, to stop these motherfuckers from getting on the scoreboard. So we got that to look forward to next week. Now, with last week's, you know what? Also, speaking of Texas Tech, I was able to, I don't know if you saw my Instagram, but I got into the mall. I went to the mall on one of my days off. It wasn't even a day off. I got called in. Oh, excuse me. I got called in that day to come in, cover for somebody who quit, to manage that shit, but to manage that whole situation. But before I got called in, I went to the mall and I bought a new Texas Tech hat. Not even a new one, but I bought a Texas Tech hat in general because I don't have one. But I bought one so I can represent the home team. And I got my name. So I bought my hat at one place, and then I went to another hat store. I went to a hat store that generalizes in hats, and I got my name, Jamie the Conqueror, stitched onto the side of the fucking hat. So Texas Tech on the front, Jamie the Conqueror on the side, just to let you motherfuckers know who I am, and he is I, and I am him. And I think the hat looks fucking pretty sick, and I can't wait to wear that. I start wearing that motherfucker. I'm not going to wear it to work because I don't want to ruin the hat by sweating in it and shit. So I'll wear that bitch on my out and about adventures and journeys. You'll be able to see that. You can see it on my Instagram right now, what it looks like, and then I'll be posting pictures. You'll be able to see that motherfucker from here on out on my Instagram as well. So that was an enjoyable time, man, going to the mall. I always like going to the mall, and malls are fading throughout the country because everybody orders their stuff online and has it delivered to them. I like to be out and about, getting that shit myself, doing it myself. I don't like to wait for it either. Waiting is half the battle, and I don't like that shit. Especially when you order something and it turns out to not fit because you think you know your size. You know your size is. You get something and it's fucking too big or too small, and then you gotta fucking send it back. Or sometimes, like me, I'll just waste the money. I won't even send it back. I'll keep it and fucking order another size accordingly, depending on if it's big or small. So, that's a pain in the ass to deal with. So that's why I went to the mall and I did it myself. Treated myself to a new hat with my name on the side, and I got to enjoy the mall itself. That also. Like I said, I like being out in public and people watching, not in a stalker kind of way, but I like to watch people coming and going, and seeing what other people or what other people look like, as if you didn't know what people looked like. But it's just interesting to be out in public in general, because I'm more of a homebody and an introvert by nature. So I like when I do get out and I do see people, and the enjoyment of all the people around at the mall and the mall atmosphere, doing their shopping, seeing all the interesting stuff in the mall. So that was fun. Got the new hat, the new Texas Tech hat, so I can represent the home team anywhere that I happen to go. So you'll see me in that bitch until I get my next new hat, which we'll talk about when that time comes. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, with that being said, let's get into our topics for the week. And my first topic that I want to talk about is we're talking about jerk-offs, and it's I have this pet peeve with things that and these are just my opinions, right? I don't speak for everybody, but this is my podcast, Jamie's Day Out Podcast, and I'm talking about my opinion. So I'm going to give you my opinion on stuff that really bothers me to see, especially when it comes to being out in public. So we're talking about jerk-offs today. And the first one that I want to talk about is the person who invented the little card machines. When you pay for stuff with a debit or a credit card, those machines. And I want to talk about that person as it pertains to, because let me just say, let's start by saying this. At first, it was just you got a debit card and you would just swipe that motherfucker on the side, enter your PIN number, and complete your transaction that way. Then they fucking changed it to inserting the chip on the debit card or the credit card. You put the chip into the chip reader, and originally I thought what that was supposed to do is you just entered it, you inserted the chip, and you could bypass the entering the PIN number, and it was just supposed to save you an extra step. And then that turned out not to be the case. You got to, just like swiping it, after you insert it, you got to enter your PIN number, and then you complete the transaction. Okay, take it another step further. Now they've got the whole tap. You tap your card on the fucking face of the machine, and now you enter the PIN number still. So you tell me, what is the point of all these new and innovative ways to use the card machine if you still got to enter the fucking PIN? Now, two things. Does that make me lazy because I don't like to enter my PIN? Or, because I'm trying to save a step and I don't want to enter my PIN number? And what was the other point that I was going to make? Fuck. Got me going on a rant and I forget. So, does that mean I'm lazy? Or does that mean that the jerk-off who fucking is trying to innovate ways to use these card machines, is he wasting time by creating the chip? So first the swipe, then the chip, then the tap. The jerk off that is doing that and still making you enter your PIN. What is that? Is that me being lazy, or is that a jerk off move on their part? Because it's not it's not saving anybody any fucking time. It's not saving you a step or time. And it's the same thing. You might as well just swipe the motherfucker. You might as well have just kept that and not even introduced the chip reader or the tap. Now, with that being said, also, it's not the same everywhere I go. Like, when you go to, like, the convenience store or Walmart or any kind of store where you buy stuff where you have to pay with the card machine, not all of them are the same. Sometimes when you do the tap at these places, you won't have to enter your PIN. You'll tap that motherfucker and it'll say approved or denied, and that's the end of it. But a lot of places, it's you swipe it and you insert you insert the chip and you still got to enter your fucking PIN number. That's fucking is silly as fuck. And then the tap, when you tap it, you got to enter your PIN. It's silly as fuck. So let me just fucking tap the motherfucker and not enter my PIN, and let's just be fucking done with it. Let's get on with our fucking way. If not, the whole thing doesn't make sense. You're a fucking jerk off for doing that. Now, jerk off number 2. We're going to talk about the people who have the new Tesla Cyber trucks. And I'm sure you've seen those motherfuckers on the road. They're becoming more and more frequent now. I wouldn't say more and more. I would just say more one time, that it's frequent that you see them now. Like here in Lubbock, I think I've seen them once or twice maybe the most. At first it was just the regular Tesla vehicles. And this is my opinion on the Tesla vehicles in general, that I feel like those are statement vehicles. And what I mean by that is that if you have money, you're going to buy a Tesla. Or if you, I guess they say if you care about the environment because it's an electric vehicle, that it's supposed to be good for the environment. So it's either that's the case, you care about the environment, or it's a statement vehicle, and you just want people to know that you have a Tesla. And it goes even beyond that with this Tesla truck, because that it being more so of a statement vehicle. Because, like I said before, when you had a Tesla, you didn't see them as much as you do now. You see regular Teslas, it's the vehicles, and they got their, it seems like they got their rounded. They got a lot of round surfaces. The surface of the cars, a lot of round edges. And now these, you used to didn't see those, and now you see those almost all the time. And then now they got the Tesla Cybertruck, and it's got a bunch of hard edges. It's like a hard body edge vehicle, and it looks like a fucking. And just like the memes you see on Facebook or whatever app you happen to see your memes on, but it used to be like the beginners. Drawing, when you would draw a truck back in school, it had all the hard edges on that motherfucker. It looked like a fucking kid drawing. And sure enough, now they brought those motherfuckers to life, and that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like a fucking kid's drawing toy. It looked like a kid's toy drawing of a truck, and now everybody, more and more people are starting to have them. And I think, in regards to them being statement vehicles, is because those cost a pretty penny. I'll Google, see how much a fucking Tesla Cybertruck costs, but I'm pretty sure they cost over $50,000. Cybertruck price. I'm pretty sure they cost over 50 grand, between 50 and 100. I'm about to find out for sure. Oh look, the 2024 Tesla Cybertruck has a starting sticker price of $80,240, with the range topping Cybertruck Cyber Beast kicking off at $100,000, $100,240. For comparison, the Ford F-150 Lightning, whatever fucking version of the F-150 that is, starts at $50,000. So these motherfuckers cost $80,000 on the low side, up to upwards of $100,000. Now that just says that you have money, right? And these fucking Cybertrucks, they don't look. I don't think that they look good, like, as opposed to like a regular F-150. I would much rather have a normal F-150 because they look nice. They look nice compared to the Cybertruck. I would say that the F-150s, Ford, any type of truck looks better than what these Cybertrucks look like. They just look fucking weird as fuck. And I believe the only reason you buy one of those is to send a statement that you have money to buy one, because they don't look cool. They're not cool looking. They're an oddity, I would say. They have a fucking certain look to them that's not. I wouldn't say cool. Again, my opinion. They don't look cool. They don't look stylish. They're weird to fucking see whenever you see one. They stand out. That's for goddamn sure. They definitely stand out whenever you see one pass by on the highway, on the street, wherever the fuck you happen to see one. They look strange. It's just strange to see. So I think you're a jerk off if you spend the money to buy a Cybertruck just to show that you have money. Again, my opinion, but I think you're a jerk off. Third jerk offs we're going to talk about is these motherfuckers who wear Crocs. And when I say motherfuckers, I mean guys that wear Crocs. If you're a woman, you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? I'm not going to judge you, because women, they wear stuff that guys don't wear. Obviously, they're women. But guys, if you wear fucking Crocs out in public, now what you do in the comfort of your home, that's nobody's business, right? In the comfort of your home, that's your business. You want to wear Crocs around? I personally, I'm never going to own a pair of Crocs. And even at home, I'll tell you right now, you'll never catch me with Crocs in my fucking house. Much less in public. So if you're a motherfucker that wears Crocs out in public, to the grocery store, to the mall, to the bar, and I've seen them at my job, these fucking cool, these jerk-offs that are cool guys, and they got the tight jeans, and they wear hoodies, and they got tattoos, and they got the hats and the fucking ear piercings and stuff like that. You look down at their feet and they're wearing fucking Crocs, fucking blue Crocs, or some obscure fucking color. Just wearing Crocs out in public. So if you wear Crocs out in public, I think you're the biggest jerk off that there is. Now, Crocs with socks. You know, first off, we'll talk about Crocs with socks. So if you're one of these jerk offs that wears Crocs out in public and you have socks on, you're a jerk off nonetheless, but you're at least saving us from seeing your fucking your plain ass feet and even smelling them, which I guess it adds like one layer of protection against the smell of your feet if your feet happen to smell. But if you wear Crocs with socks out in public, you're a jerk off. Now, if you wear Crocs out in public and you got no socks on, you're a next level fucking jerk off, man. Like, why would you wear Crocs to begin with, and then why would you not put socks on, and then why would you wear? Wait, let me go back. Why would you wear Crocs in public to begin with? And then obviously you better be a fucking not one of these animals that doesn't wear socks when they wear fucking shoes, but much less in this case Crocs with you wear your Crocs and you have socks on. But then if you take it a step further and you show me that you're a fucking animal and you don't have socks on and you're out in public, and not even in any type of public setting for any amount of time, but if you're at the fucking grocery store and you're doing your grocery shopping, obviously you're going to be out for 30 minutes at least in a public setting, and you ain't got no fucking socks on, you're a jerk off. And I'll say that till the cows come home. You're a jerk off if you wear Crocs with socks, and even more so, jerk off if you wear no socks. I'll judge you. Now, what did I know that if you listen to this and you're a motherfucker that wears Crocs, you're thinking, but you can't whoop me. You might be right, but you're still a fucking jerk off, and that says a lot about your character if you're wearing Crocs in public. So, you're a jerk off. Next topic, because I'm getting, you know what? Before we even get to the next topic, it used to be people were wearing, sandals and flops. You know, the regular, you just slide your foot into the sandal with the strap over the top. That was acceptable, and it was and it barely, when you would wear those out in public, it was barely acceptable. Now, again, my opinion, I found that it was barely acceptable to wear sandals out in public, and I would call you a jerk off if you wore them with no fucking socks too, because don't nobody want to see your fucking toenails, man. Especially if you got dirty ass feet, dirty toenails and dirty feet, and you ain't got no socks on, and you can see all your feet, all of your foot. When you wore sandals and flops, they took it a step further and they started wearing Crocs. Now the Croc covers more of your foot, but nonetheless, and the Crocs look stupid. This is a stupid form of footwear, and you'll never catch me dead in a pair of Crocs. I don't give a fuck. So let's get to the next topic. Last week I talked about Dallas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area being bad luck for your boy. For me, it's just a bad luck city, and it's proven to be a bad luck city for me. And I'll tell you why. And it's maybe it has to do with the fact that I'm not a Dallas fan. I'm more so of a hater of the Dallas fans, more so than the team. But Dallas has just proven to be bad luck for me, and I'll tell you why. So it all started when I had after I graduated high school. I was trying to find my way in the workforce, work-wise. But I took like a little, I don't know, like I wouldn't even call it a vacation. But I took this detour and I ended up moving to San Antonio. One of my homeboys, his name is Richard. Shout out to Richard if you ever hear this. You remember all this shit that went down when I lived out there with you. But I moved to San Antonio with him and tried to live out there and tried to, see what that situation turned out to be like. But I lived with him and his folks out there in San Antonio, and they were cool enough to let me stay with them and sleep on their couch and just be out there in San Antonio trying to find my way, but doing little odd jobs, landscaping and stuff like that. But I ended up doing a lot of stupid fucking made a lot of bad choices living out in San Antonio. I tried to get into the weed, try to be a weed dealer, traveling all, taking the bus all over the big ass city of San Antonio, delivering fucking Reggie sacks, and that's all we were selling was fucking Reggie. This was when Reggie was the thing. But I tried to go out there and make my way doing that, and then doing my hoodlum stuff, man. I was a thief. We were thieving, stealing from cars and shit. I never broke into nobody's house or nothing like that, so it's not to that extent. But I did a little bit of, crime by breaking into people's cars. Not even breaking into people's cars, because it was people that were leaving their cars open, and you would go up at night and try to get into somebody's car and it happened to be open, stealing whatever was inside that was of value. So I did a lot of that shit. That was a lot of nonsense that I did at the time. Like I said, along with selling weed. And just none of that ended up working. I think I was out there for like 2 months. It was over the summer, and it didn't work out, and it was not conducive to long-term success in life. So I ended up coming back to Lubbock, and I didn't want to go back. I had worked at McDonald's prior to like twice. I had worked at McDonald's prior to leaving for San Antonio, so I didn't want to come. When I came back to Lubbock, I didn't want to go back to working at McDonald's. So I, got into the newspaper, and this was when classifieds were a big thing. Not even a big thing, but they were a thing. You looked into we had the Thrifty Nickel here in Lubbock, and this is where I found this job. But in the newspaper, you could find the employment section, the job classifieds, the job ads, and I looked into Thrifty Nickel here in Lubbock. And I remember I came across this ad that was it said you could travel the country and work in sales. You can work in sales and you can travel and see the country. And sometimes a lot of these things are too good to be true. This in this case it was and it wasn't, right? And I'll tell you why. Because what it was it was door-to-door sales. And it was magazine subscriptions. And again, this is when magazines were a big thing. People would have order magazines, and they would have them sent to their house every month. It was a subscription, but you had to go door to door to sign up to sell them, and then sign up for these things. And that's what this job was. And sure enough, I ended up, responding to the ad in the newspaper. I called the guy, what turned out to be a guy, and he said, he sent me the information. He told me what it was. Oh, excuse me. Told me the details, and then he told me that he would be purchasing a bus ticket for me, have it sent here to Lubbock. I could pick it up. I would get on the bus, and I would travel to what it was at the time. It was, and thankfully it wasn't what it was at first, because the bus ticket was from Lubbock, Texas, to some city, some town in Nebraska, and at the time. When I had responded to this ad, at the time it was kind of getting colder, and the city or town in Nebraska that it sent me to, and I don't remember where it was, but it was in Nebraska. I remember that. And at the time of the ride, when I was going to be going up there, it was during a snowstorm. It was snowing all that week, and it was the weather forecasted snow all that time that I was supposed to be traveling up there. So that's where originally it was to. And thankfully that wasn't the case, because I didn't want to have to get there and deal with snow, a blizzard, so it would seem, because it was a little bit further up north, on the other side of the Rocky Mountains. So it gets really cold, and the snow is a big deal up there, and that's where I was headed at first. Now, whenever I was going up there, I remember I had got on the bus. Originally going there to Nebraska. I was going that way. I committed to going there, and I had ended up getting to Denver, Colorado, on this bus ticket. And when I was there, the guy called me, and they ended up switching it from going to Nebraska to another town in Kansas. So they rerouted me. I ended up going from Denver, Colorado to Manhattan, Kansas, and more of a fucking potentially, it could have been a potential bad time, because like once I got on the bus from Denver to go into Kansas, I remember I got to Kansas the morning of, and it was early morning, and they dropped you off at some convenience store, because it was a small town. And there was no actual bus station. It was just like a bus stop. And I got to Manhattan, Kansas, got off on the bus, and I was supposed to be waiting for the guy to come pick me up. And for whatever reason, I don't remember what it was, but he ended up being like late by like a few hours. So I get there and I take my bags to McDonald's, to the nearest McDonald's, and I get breakfast, and I'm waiting there, and I'm waiting to hear from him for the next step. And after like the first like 2 hours, I started to get discouraged. I was like, man, this was a fucking bullshit ad in the newspaper, and I got on the bus to come out here for no fucking reason. And I was thinking of what the next step was going to be, and I remember like I called my mom to let her know that was the case. That I was there for a couple hours, and I was still waiting for this guy to respond. He hadn't responded because it was early in the morning, and I was thinking like what the next step was going to be, and I was thinking that I was going to have to like, be homeless for a couple of weeks to a month or whatever the fucking case was, until I found a job to get income while I was there, and I was going to make up enough money to come back to fucking Texas, because this was just one of those jobs that didn't. It was one of those job opportunities that just didn't pan out, and that's what it looked like it was going to be. So I was very discouraged in that aspect, man. And I remember I was walking around this small town, trying to find places that looked like they had had hiring signs, so I could do that and get that ball rolling. And a few hours had passed by, and fucking finally this guy fucking texted me, the guy that I was going to be working for. That turned out that I was going to be working for. He texted me, told me that, all right, well, I'll come pick you up, and we're going to be in the next town over, which is like a 15, 20, 30-minute drive. I don't remember. It's some short drive, but going from Manhattan, Kansas to Topeka, Kansas, where the whole team was, and that's where I would be starting my journey. So finally comes to fucking pick me up, right? Picks me up at the McDonald's, and then we end up making this drive over to Topeka, Kansas. And we get there, and we get to the hotel where everybody's staying, and he explains to me that it's a team, it's a group of what turns out to be, we were all kids, we were all youngsters younger than 20 years, 21. We were all younger than 21, right? So we're kids basically, and I was going to be a part of a team called the Raiders, because he happened to be a Raider fan, and I was part of his crew / team. And he explains to me that it's magazine sales, going door to door, trying to make sales, and telling me like what the pay structure was. He was making it all seemed fucking good, like it seemed like a legit, and it was legit. But it seemed like it was a good time. It sounded like a good time. He made it sound like a good time. I was sold on it. And we got there later on that night, or it was something like that. I remember we got there, and I met with the people, with the rest of the kids, the group or whatever, and there was another team. I don't remember what the other team was. It was the Raiders, and then the other person, the other guy who ran the other crew, grown ass man. I don't remember what their fucking team was, but I was part of the Raiders. Now we get there. And the next day, we ended up what it was to start the day was we had these team meetings in the parking lot, and it was to like we go over the script, like when you knock on the door to make your pitch, you go over the script, and then you finish off with this motivational like cadence to get your confidence rolling, so that way we go out to the neighborhoods to these locations, these neighborhoods, to potentially make our sales. You're ready for it, confidence-wise. It boosts your confidence to get you ready. And we would have these team meetings first thing in the morning. It was like 7 in the morning, and then by 8 o'clock, we would get on the road, and we would go and this is the cool thing about it too. Like the guys that owned these two teams, that ran these two crews, these teams, it was like they had like this. Like a convoy, I guess you would say, of vehicles. I think they had like 2 or 3 vehicles apiece, and it was the oldest guys the oldest kids in the group that had driver's licenses were the ones that drove these vehicles, and they ferried us around, cars full of kids to different neighborhoods, and they would drop you off in a neighborhood, and you would go out and try to make your sales. So we would load up after these team meetings, and we would all go have breakfast. So you'd go to like the nearest like McDonald's, Burger King, Jack in the Box, whatever place served breakfast that was nearby or whatever that sounded good for the day, we'd go to and we'd have breakfast, right? Chop it up and shoot the shit amongst ourselves, get ready for the day. Team meetings, breakfast, and then we would go from there to whatever neighborhood on whatever side of the fucking town or city that we were in. I think Topeka was a Kansas. It was a small college town, so it was a pretty good sized town. That you can go to a different side of town each day, drop off in a different neighborhood in this side on a side of town, particular side of town, and you go and make your sales. So that's what it was. I remember going. I went with a trainer, and it was supposed to be a guy that was an established salesman in the team, and he would train you how he did it, how he would go about. We called it slamming, and is just slang for sales, for a sale or a meeting to make a sale. Fuck, and I was with this guy. I remember he was a fucking scumbag, man. Like, turns out he was a scumbag. Like, he was good at what he did, but he was a sleazy, like, scumbag type of guy. He's a pussy chaser. And I won't even get into that because it's kind of it's an awkward story. But he was a jerk off. But it was cool. It was a cool time because it was my first time away from home. No, it wasn't. San Antonio was. But even more so, because like I said, this was across state lines. I think I was like 17 or 18 years old whenever I first did this. And going, across state lines. Goddamn jerk off, how loud does your fucking truck need to be? Fucking son of a bitch. This is a residential neighborhood. Made me lose my train of thought. But okay, so, it was my first time being out amongst other people from all over the fucking country. Like, a lot of these kids were from different fucking states. Some were from Texas, some weren't. Actually, I think I was the only one from Texas. But, kids from all over the fucking country on these teams, going to other states, selling magazines door to selling magazine subscriptions door to door. It was the most, goddamn, hit the mic again. It was the most fun. It was my first fun experience. Being away from home. It was a fucking great time because and I smoked weed. Everybody on these teams smoked weed. We all drank at an early age or whatever. So sometimes what it was like when you go to these towns, you got to make new connections, like trying to find weed in different fucking cities and states. And sure enough, like the guys that were good at talking and stuff like that, we'd come across, like when we were at a gas station or something like that. You would find somebody who looked like they smoked weed. Not even look like they smoked weed, but they just looked the part, right? And they would work up a conversation, and sure enough, find the fucking weed connect. Like, oh, yeah, I got a guy's number who sells weed, and he'll fucking, whatever, we can get it set up and shit. Sure enough, it was pretty fucking, it was cool too, because, on our off time, like after we would get done with our sales for the day, we'd go back to the hotel at night, and just chill out, shoot the shit, and you get paid at the end of the day. You get a $20, like, every day you got a $20, the guy who ran these teams will give you $20 for food for the day, for the night, and, every day that was the case. So you'd have $20 at least if you didn't make any sales. And this, at the time, like I said, at the time, checks were still a thing. Credit cards or debit cards were becoming a thing, and then obviously you could take cash payments. But if you made sales, you got paid more at the end of the day by the guy who ran the team. You'd get like a bonus for making a certain amount of sales, and on top of what the money, the $20 they give you for food every day. So you had a little bit of money in your pocket if you made sales, and nonetheless for money for food. You had $20 at least. So we would all pitch in to buy a fucking sack, and for something to smoke. And if you were lucky enough to find somebody that was old enough and willing to buy you alcohol, people would be chilling at the hotels. We'd be in the parking lots, chilling, drinking, smoking. We'd go for walks like to the nearest, and we always found like hotels that were close to like Walmarts. Thankfully too, right? Because you go and you'd buy like you can go to the freezer section. I remember going one night and stocking up on. We would buy Hot Pockets. We'd all go in on like a big ass thing of Hot Pockets and chips and 12 packs and stuff like that. Just, street type food. That's not really healthy, but it would hold you over. And being young, that was what you ate. That type of stuff. So, we would make connections with and we'd put our money together to get a sack and shit. And sure enough, there was cool times when you would meet somebody earlier during the day. You'd get a phone number for the weed dealer, and they'd be cool enough to come to the hotel and deliver a weed sack that we'd all gone in on. And that was some of the most fun too. Like is that part of it, because all day and the guys that ran these teams, they didn't go out with you to make the sales. Like, they stayed there at the hotel and did whatever the fuck they did. Processed fucking the payments, subscriptions, got all that shit turned in, did all that type of stuff. But they weren't with us throughout the day, so it was just a bunch of kids just navigating these towns you had never been in, and making money, or potentially making money, making friends, making connections, out in the middle of the random city you happen to be in. It was so much fun. And come time when they cut me loose to actually start trying to make sales myself, like, that was pretty fun too. Like, and like I said, I'm not really a talker. Aside from this, my podcast, I'm not really a talker in terms of public speaking. And that's what it was. It was public speaking, trying to make sales. And whenever I got cut loose to start doing it, man, it was pretty fun, man. Like, 9 times out of 10, the motherfuckers would say no to buying a subscription or starting a subscription, right? Not a lot of people wanted to get subscriptions to magazines. But when you made one, it was pretty fucking, it was a boost of confidence, man. And I ended up getting lucky at one point, man. And I ended up making enough sales to where I got a bonus the night when we got back to the hotel. And that was a big confidence booster to keep you rolling. Whenever we happened to move, which we did move. We ended up going from Kansas, and this is where the Dallas part comes in. We ended up going from Topeka, Kansas, down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And this is where my fucking problems began. I remember before we moved, I ended up getting in touch with my homeboy Richard, and trying to get him to come out. Because it would be nice to have, when you're out there on the road and you don't know a lot of people, when you don't know any of these guys aside from working with them every day and sharing a hotel room with them. Sometimes you get acquainted and sometimes you don't. Like me, I was introverted. I wasn't really like buddy with a lot of these guys. It was just a work thing, and you kept the peace and you were nice, and it was there was that camaraderie to a certain degree. But you want to have somebody out on the road that you're familiar with, and that's what I tried to do with Richard. I tried to get him to come out to join this job, come out on the road and be a part of this whole situation, man. And luckily I was blessed enough to get him to come out on the road with me, join this team, this crew of magazine salesmen and women, because it was co-ed. It was men and women. And that's the other thing too. Like, sometimes there was fine ass girls, not fine, but there was some fine girls, but they were pretty girls. But there was more guys than there were girls. But you would try to, there was guys trying to smash on these girls. We called it smash. I don't know why I said smash, but trying to get with these girls to fucking do that type of thing. Now, these girls weren't fast. Don't get me wrong. It didn't come easy. I never got to smash it, fuck one of these girls that were on the team when I was doing it. But, some of these guys were sleeping with some of these girls. I remember there was even one guy, his girlfriend was one of the girls that came along, that joined the team at some point, and she was a part of the team for a while. They were a part of this whole situation for a while, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend. So, that was interesting in itself. But there was other times, like, one of the rules was that if you met one of these potential customers that and like I said, these customers are people from all walks of life, all ages, young 20s, college kids to older moms, MILFs, you would call them. If you were lucky enough to meet one of these people and you talked your way into fucking one of these people out on the road, one of these girls on the road, you were able to, you got the bed for the rest of the stay. Whatever city you were in at that hotel, you got to sleep on the bed. You got the bed to yourself, because there was always like 2, 3, 4 guys in a room, in a double bedroom, that didn't necessarily get to sleep on the bed. A lot of the times guys were sleeping on the floor. If you got more sales during the day, you got the bed for the night. And then, like I said, if you were able to fuck one of these girls, you get the bed for the whole stay. And it was fun. It was a competition in that regard too. So that was also pretty fun, man, trying to do that, get into bed for the night. But like I said, and there happened to be a time when two of the guys, one guy from a different team and one guy that was training me, the guy that trained me, I remember we were in, it was when we were in Kansas. These two cats, they had game. They were spitting game to these two girls that we went to this neighborhood. And there was these two girls, they were sitting outside. And they went out there, spit their game, and ended up fucking these two chicks. We stayed at these people's house, these girls' house, that whole day. Like, we didn't even worry about sales or nothing like that. Like, we just came back empty-handed for that night. Sometimes that was the case. I see you, motherfucker. You're the one with the loud truck, you jerk off. But, we stayed at their house that whole day, just chopping it up, kicking it, relaxing, chilling, whatever. With these girls. I remember we smoked there at their house, smoking their weed and stuff like that. But they fucked these two chicks. It was pretty cool, man, to see, because at an early age, when you're still trying to develop your own game and stuff like that, like, it was cool to see these motherfuckers do it in a random city or state. It was cool to see. So I ended up seeing that firsthand. And sure enough, when we got back to the hotel, they got a bed to themselves. The rest of us had to sleep on the floor. Somebody else got the other bed, but everybody else that was in the room slept on the floor, because they were able to do that. And that was my first-hand experience seeing that actually come to fruition. The randomness of it. And it was cool to witness. So, like I said, going back to Richard, I wanted him to be a part of this because it was pretty fun, and it was cool to be a part of. So it'd be cool to share, as gay as that sounds, but the experience with one of my homeboys, one of my friends, my lifelong friends. I say lifelong, I met him in high school, but into our late teens. I'd known him for a handful of years, right? And I'm comfortable with this guy. He was my homeboy. He was my brother from another mother, right? I consider him. And part of the reason that we wanted to bring him out too is because we wanted him to bring some weed from San Antonio, because San Antonio from Dallas is not that far of a stretch, right? So he was going to take the bus from San Antonio to Dallas, where we were, and he was going to bring, tried to get him to bring, like, we all tried to go in on like a quarter pound of some Reggie, right, to bring out to us to have us smoke. And I don't remember for the life of me if he did or not. I don't think he did, because I think I would have remembered that. But that was my whole purpose for trying to get him to come out. But even though he didn't, he still came out, and he was with us. He was with me. I think he was even a part of my team, if I remember. He was part of the Raiders as well. But he was in a different room, and he was in a different car whenever we went out. But he was there nonetheless. And, it was cool to be out there with him on the road, doing this type of shit. But when he came out to Dallas, he ended up coming out to Dallas. I remember I just got way too comfortable, and I just was all about having the good time experience that I kind of like neglected, I should say, the fact that I was out there to do a job. And it was just about having a good time. And I slacked off on the sales and stuff like that. I wasn't making the sales like I had originally done whenever I had got my first bonus. I didn't keep the momentum rolling. I just kind of slacked off because he was out there. And sure enough, there was another time when we ended up, while we were in Dallas, that we ended up coming across some people that were cool enough to invite us into their house one day. And we did it twice. First day we met them, and we just kind of hung out, chopped it up, shot the shit, and just got acquainted with these people, right? And then we ended up coming back the next day because we were in the same area. That's the next day that we came back, and they ended up buying us alcohol. And, man, we started drinking at fucking 9 in the morning all the way until it was time to go back to the hotel later on that night, and just fucked off a whole day. And that's what it became, just doing that. It was just about having a good time. It wasn't about actually, making money while we were out there, while I had Richard out there. But it was cool nonetheless to have him out there and, sharing that experience. So that was the cool part of it. But, the bad luck part comes into play because he ended up getting called out by the guy that ran the team because he wasn't making any sales since he had been out there. And then it further on came to me because he said, ever since he came out here, you've been slacking. And, that's not what this is about. And it rubbed because Richard's a headstrong cat. Like he doesn't take disrespect well, or so it would seem that it was disrespectful to call him out for not making sales, and then it also involving me. But he didn't take it well. That he ended up quitting, and I'm not gonna let my homeboy fucking be on his own. I can't just let him quit and me stay and leave him behind, or let him be on his own. So I quit. We ended up both quitting, and the fact that we quit, the guy was a fucking savage, man. The guy that ran the team or whatever, he was like, all right, well, you can get the fuck out. You got to leave the hotel, and you got to find your own way home. And sure enough, that's exactly what the case was, man. Like, we got kicked out of the hotel. We had to pack our belongings. We had to leave the hotel. We had to find our way to the bus station with literally no money other than the money, like, I guess from the days before, that the money they give you to eat, whatever money we had saved. And sure enough, that was the case, man. We got kicked out of the hotel at night after a whole day of being out there trying to make sales and coming back empty-handed. We got kicked out that night. It was like 9 p.m. at night. We got kicked out of the hotel, and we had to find our way to the Greyhound station, which was 13 fucking miles away from the hotel that we were staying at with the team. It was 13 fucking miles. And I remember leaving the hotel, we ended up crossing the highway, and the money that we had on us, I think we got something to eat at this place, and we happened to run into this guy. He smelled like weed, and sure enough, he had weed to sell. And I remember he gave us a little bit at first because we had told him our story, what had happened, and what the next step of the journey was, that we had to fucking find our way to the station by ourselves on foot. He gave us like a blunt, I think it was, and it was some fire too. We ended up buying like a gram from him as well. $10 for a gram for a blunt, and we had that to smoke on the way to the bus station. And fucking Richard ended up losing it, and we didn't have anything to smoke after that. And it was just a long ass 13-mile walk from that spot where we ate, found that guy. It was a 13-mile walk from there to the bus station. And I remember we got lost at one point, man, because I was using my phone the Google Maps on my phone to get us to where we needed to go. And we ended up getting lost at one point. So that kind of fucking dampened the mood as well, man. Because, getting lost while you're walking, on top of walking 13 miles is that would make anybody upset. Sure enough, it made us upset. It made my homeboy upset too, because I got us lost. But, once we ended up getting our direction the way that we needed to go, what happened was we ended up walking along this long ass stretch of highway that runs through Dallas, all the way that gets you to downtown from the spot that we were at. We ended up walking along the highway. Took fucking 6-7 hours. Like, we ended up walking, it was all night into the early morning hours. I think we ended up getting to the bus station at like 6 o'clock in the morning. But I remember being so fucking tired while we were walking. I fell asleep while walking, like while fucking in motion walking. I ended up like closing my eyes and falling asleep, and for a split brief minute or whatever the fuck it was. And that's how tired I was. We ended up like, we would take like these little like cat naps, or I would. I think Richard stayed up. Richard was a fucking soldier, man. Shout out to him again. He's my older homeboy too, so he's like a big brother too, man. So he was a fucking soldier. And, he comes from the streets, man. I was a square. Like I said, if you heard the first 2 podcasts, you heard how much of a square upbringing I had. He was more so from the streets, so he was a fucking soldier, right? He was a savage in that regard. So I remember, like, we would stop and rest our feet, rest our legs, and we would stop right on the side of the highway. And literally on the side of the highway, cars, whenever they did happen to pass by, because like I said, it was in the overnight hours, there wasn't a lot of cars out on the road. We would just stop on the side of the highway, take a little rest, and I would fall asleep for like what seemed like a couple of minutes. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't remember the time, how long I fell asleep for, but I do remember falling asleep. And then he would wake me up and we would fucking start walking again, fucking miles at a time. And I remember one time we had taken one of those breaks and I was awakened by the sound of it. I think it was a Lamborghini. It looked like a Lambo or a Ferrari that came out weird. It was one of those two types of supercars, but I remember that motherfucker whizzed by, and the sound of the engine, the loudness of it. I was awakened by it, and I saw that motherfucker pass by, and I was like, "That's a fucking cool car. It's either a Lambo or Ferrari." But I remember being asleep and being awakened by that. And then coming towards the end of our journey, once we got like to the beginnings of what you would consider downtown Dallas Fort Worth, we ended up making another stop, and we had a little bit more money left that we were gonna take we were already tired as fuck, bro. Like, as you can imagine, walking 13 miles. We were so tired that we were gonna put the rest of our money towards getting a taxi. And there was no Ubers at the time. Uber or Lyft wasn't a thing at the time. It was just taxis. We ended up scheduling a taxi to get us the rest of the way to the bus stop. And we both fell asleep waiting for the fucking taxi to get there, man. And we were just so fucking worn out. Happened to wake up whenever the guy had called. He called us to let us know that he was, looking for us, waiting for us or whatever. And we took a taxi the rest of the way. And I think it was probably maybe 3 or 4 miles the rest of the way to the Greyhound bus station. But we were so tired we were willing to fucking spend the rest of our money to get there. Sure enough, we did. We get to the Greyhound station, and we ended up making calls to like our family, trying to get them to send us money to get back to. He was going back to San Antonio, and I was coming back to Lubbock. And I think my dad sent me money for a bus ticket, and his I think it was like his stepdad at the time ended up sending him money to get him back to San Antonio. So while we were waiting for our scheduled bus ride to Lubbock and San Antonio, man, I remember I fell asleep on the floor of the Greyhound, and I remember the ride wasn't for like 4 or 5 hours, from when we got there to when it was supposed to leave. I remember falling asleep on the floor of the Greyhound, man. And these floors are fucking, the fucking floors when you go into any type of business, it's a solid, shiny surface. And it was just in the middle of a bus station. And the Dallas Greyhound is, like I said, it's downtown, but the area of downtown that it's at, man, it's kind of a like sketchy, seedy area, right? There's a lot of like homeless and what appear to be like drug addicts and just rough type of people, man. Minorities also. I wouldn't, I don't know if they were bad people or not, but a lot of minorities, a lot of Mexicans especially that use Greyhound. And Dallas, there's a lot of Mexicans in that fucking bus station. And I am Mexican, so I can say Mexicans without it being racist, stereotypical, whatever the fuck you would say, politically correct, incorrect. But, I didn't give a fuck about any of those people, man. I didn't care about any of that circumstance, situation, setting, surrounding. None of it. I fell asleep right there on the floor for 3-4 hours. And Richard ended up waking me up come time to leave. And I think my bus departed before his, because going to Dallas and going to Lubbock are separate journeys. One's in West Texas. The other is a little bit more south of Dallas. So it was a different journey. I think my bus ended up leaving before his did. So he was there, and it wasn't much longer. I don't think it was. I don't remember it being much of a difference in time, maybe an hour, maybe. But I ended up leaving first, and it was just a hard time being there in Dallas. Getting to Dallas, getting fired, having to fucking walk 13 miles to the bus station. That was the beginning of my bad luck, what I would deem bad luck Dallas. That was the beginning of it. And then another time that, in revisiting the last episode, the Hawaiian pizza story, that was my second instance with bad luck being in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, man. When we flew into Dallas, I got that Hawaiian pizza and then ended up throwing it up later on that day. And I know it was the pizza because when I threw up, it was a Hawaiian pizza, like I said, so Hawaiians got pineapple on it. The only thing that came out, other than the liquid, sorry to get graphic from the throw up, it was nothing but pineapple pieces. It was nasty as fuck. So if you watch that video too, you'll see that I show that part. After the aftermath of it, it was just a pile of liquid and pineapple. So that was my second run-in with bad luck in Dallas. So that's why I say that I have bad luck in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So should I ever happen to visit Dallas again, maybe I will have bad luck again, maybe I won't. But the 2 times that I've been there, I've had bad luck. So that's why I say that Dallas is bad luck for me. So that's the second topic. Now, topic number 3, this is going to be a brief one because I'm already over an hour into this. The third topic is people and crazy food choices, I guess you could say. And the first one being, I was scrolling through Facebook the other day and I saw that this guy had caught a mako shark. And this is the second time I've seen this, but he had caught a mako shark and he fucking cut the head off of it and filleted it. And, cut it up into pieces and shit like that right there on the pier. And then he gets to the house and he turns the shark into, turns him into steaks. He turns the shark into a bunch of steaks. And, put that motherfucker on a gas grill and he put teriyaki sauce and then a bunch of other seasonings. And he made steaks out of a shark. And the guy talks about, too, that this is... he's eaten many different species of shark, but this is the one time that I've seen that it was he was doing mako shark, and he made steaks out of that bitch. I don't know about you. I mean, well, me personally, I'll tell you that I don't like seafood to begin with. I won't eat nothing out of the sea except for tuna, and even then, that's a hard sell for me. Like, I have a hard time eating tuna. But this guy was eating all different types of species of sharks, and like I said, this one was mako shark. And guy made fucking steaks out of it. And they didn't look too good, man. Like, a shark meat was like, it was light. It was a light type of meat. It wasn't like an actual, like, cow steak. Obviously, being they're 2 different species, they weren't the same color. But this was like a light-ass steak, so I wouldn't have even considered it a steak. It was just like shark meat. But nonetheless, this guy made shark steaks out of this motherfucking shark. And he served it with, he made like a stir-fry, the vegetables and shit. And he served it with white rice. So it was white rice, stir-fry mix, vegetable mix with mako shark steak. And I was like, that's aggressive, bro. Like, I don't know about you, but I would never eat a fucking shark steak. I say never, but I've also been kind of grappling with the idea of, like, broadening my horizons because I eat a lot of the same stuff in my life. I eat a lot of the same stuff. So I was thinking about broadening my horizons and trying to branch out. Maybe I'll eat a steak sometime in the distant future, but as of right now, it's a hard pass for me. So that was one time that I seen a guy eat shark. And then I saw this other video, a separate time, this guy made burgers out of shark. And it was like one of those pages where it was a gourmet chef, and they just bring him stuff. They bring him just, not random stuff, but just everyday things to turn gourmet. And this time happened to be a shark, and I think it was a mako shark as well. And the guy made these, it looked like a fish, like a fillet of fish sandwich, like it looked like a hamburger with a fried piece of fish. But in this case, it was a shark. And this, I will say, looked better than the steaks. Like the steaks, the video, the way the guy cooked it into, it didn't do it any justice, man. It did not look appetizing at all. And maybe that's just because I don't like seafood, and sharks are that's a hard sell anyway. But the video didn't do it any justice. I didn't see him actually take a bite out of it and eat it. Like, he just put it on the plate and made the plate, and the video ended. But in this case, in this second instance, this guy made these fish sandwiches out of shark sandwiches, and it was breaded, and it was on some nice buns, with lettuce and pickles and tartar sauce and all that shit. So it looked more appealing than the fucking steaks did. So I would end up, if I ever did come across trying shark, if I ever got to that point, I would probably do it more so as a sandwich, as opposed to a steak, unless somebody made the steak and it looked better than this video. Because like I said, it didn't do it any justice. I would never eat a shark made by this motherfucking guy. But the gourmet chef that made the sandwiches, the shark sandwiches, I would definitely probably try that at some point. And then, last but not least, as it pertains to crazy foods, I'll just tell you, as a society, we've gotten the balls on society these days, man. Like, there's recently, not even recently, because we're kind of already in the midst, maybe on the tail end of it, but there was recently a fucking push that people were making towards eating bacon, like bacon on everything, wrapping foods in bacon, bacon burgers, and now we've gotten to the point where we just eat bacon by itself. And I have personal experience with this because where I work, we have this thing called billionaire bacon, and that's literally all it is. It's just bacon with seasoning on it. It looks like candied bacon, but it's bacon nonetheless. They don't serve it with no dipping sauce. They don't serve it on top of nothing, in nothing, around nothing. It's just slices of fucking bacon. And that's what I mean by the balls of society these days, is that they're just making, you're just eating bacon by itself, and it's just an appetizer. It's literally a part of our appetizer section of the menu is you can get the bacon by itself. And I think that's audacious, like a motherfucker. The audacity to just eat fucking bacon by itself. You gotta be a fat son of a bitch to eat bacon by itself. I don't think bacon tastes as good as people make it out to, but it's become a thing, and everybody's eating bacon. Like I said, they're wrapping meatloafs. Used to just, in our culture, as Mexicans, we do these things called poppers, as we wrap jalapenos stuffed with cream cheese. You wrap the jalapeno in bacon, and that's called a jalapeno popper. I've been exposed to that, right? But then now they're doing, and then you know, of course, like you get a bacon cheeseburger. But then people were wrapping other stuff in bacon, like the one that I thought was crazy, even though I love meatloaf and I can tolerate bacon, I'll eat it, was that motherfuckers were wrapping meatloafs in bacon. And I thought that was weird as fuck, bro. Like, that's pushing it to the limit right there. And then you take it a step further, that you're just gonna eat bacon by itself. You gotta be a fat jerk off just to eat bacon by itself, you know, when you're hungry. That's again, those are just my opinions. So I'll just leave that at that. These are all my opinions, right? I'll leave you with this one fucking meme that I saw while I was getting ready for this, while I was doing my prep, my outline sheet for this episode. I was on Facebook scrolling through it, and I saw this meme. It was of SpongeBob and Sandy, and it was I don't know if you ever seen the episode where Sandy's in hibernation and she's like fat because she's a squirrel, but she was laying down and SpongeBob like wakes her up, and she has these angry eyes when she's awakened. So visualize that, right? She's awake from hibernation by SpongeBob, and this is in reference to little kids in there. And when you wake up your mom, you know how your mom gets angry when you wake her up. That's exactly what the SpongeBob was trying to portray. But the fucking caption on the meme was it said, "Mommy, my fart is on the floor." So if you have kids or you know of kids situations like that, that's what it was portraying, is like the kid shit himself, and he shit on the floor basically. He thought it was a fart, and it turned out to be shit. And when you think about the angry eyes of Sandy being awakened by SpongeBob, 'cause SpongeBob was supposed to be the kid again, like I said. So he awakens Sandy, and it's supposed to be the kid waking up his mom, and his mom being angry because he says, "Mommy, my fart is on the floor." It was a funny meme. If I ever come across it again, I'll repost it on my Instagram, because that's where I'm going to be doing a majority of my marketing / advertising for my my podcast, my YouTube as a whole, anything related to Jamie the Conqueror. But I'll post it on there, and you'll see one of these days, sometime soon, that it was funny as fuck if you know kids, and how, you know, innocent, naive kids can be as when they're being potty trained. Just like they say, "Mommy, my fart is on the floor." So I'll end it on that. All right. That's it for this week. I'll talk to you again next week here on the Jamie's Day Off podcast. Until then, enjoy this weather, this rainy weather that we're having, this change of season, and I'll talk to you again next week. Peace.